All right, as for this weekend, in the top 14, there's a couple of fixtures I want to talk about. Firstly, Joe, one that's outside of the playoffs. Two giants of, well, historic giants in the case of Clermont Auvergne, but recent giants in the case of La Rochelle, both of which are struggling, and they're playing each other in the top 14 this weekend.
It's interesting. We talked about Stade and Racing, big budgets, failed. Just above them, you got this group of playing two massive clubs. That Lyon are in that group. They've just come out of it now. They've looked like they're going somewhere. But Clermont, La Rochelle, this game is really, really important for those two teams. Neither of whom are playing well. Whoever grinds out a victory in that one is going to be relatively safe, no issues. But the one that doesn't, that's where things can descend into mayhem. They could pull the trigger on a coach. They could anything can happen in that instance. If the president's seriously worried that maybe they get dragged into that relegation fight, you might pull the trigger. I think we've probably got enough of a cushion to be all right, I'd say. But you never know. Some presidents, they can lose their head.
They've got 10 points. Montpellier, another massive club that are in 10th, just below them as well. But yeah, La Rochelle and Clermont have got 10-point cushion from Perpignan, so you'd think that will be enough. But I guess more's the point that the winner is still in the hunt for playoffs. The loser might be facing a long stretch of nothingness till the end of the season.
Yeah, I think neither team's played well this year, and there's been a lot of fuss. Urios had ex-players out him in the media. Ronan hasn't had that sort of thing happening to him, but the team aren't producing the same levels of motivation and playing ability they've done in the past with him. So I'm sure both of them are feeling the pressure to try and get their teams to the level they need to be. Urios has been at that club for like 2.5 years, and I think that's his normal. He stays at the club for about 2 to 3 years, and then something happens and he moves on. But it could be happening now.
Can you put your finger on why they're not playing well? You said they're not playing well, and that's clear to see. But is it just they don't have the personnel to play any better? I know there's a bit of turnover with some more creative players coming into La Rochelle, for example, next season. But is it something more fundamental than that?
I think people are scoring more points now. You need to be able to score more points. La Rochelle were a team that really were difficult to play against, restricted the opposition's ability to score points, were capable of physically dominating and creating opportunities themselves. So they're probably one of the most Anglo teams in that competition. I think the game's changed a little bit this year in terms of you've got to be able to score more. And that's something they haven't been able to do. I think they've had a few key players out as well. The 9 situation they've had. Kerballo has been an incredible player for them, but he's getting very old. His body, I think, is knackered. At 10, they've had issues. Astor has not been on fire, we can say. So again, they haven't had a consistent 10. So halfbacks have been in and out of it. It's a big problem. Skelton's had a few injuries, red card, got banned for a while. So obviously he makes a huge difference. Hooker, Borgret been out for most of the season. They got various guys who are sucking it up. Put it that way.
What is behind you saying teams need to score more now? Is this something to do with law changes? Obviously, you're a defence coach, so you're the guy trying to put the hole, plug the holes. But what's changed?
You see during the Six Nations. I think we maybe get some stats to back this up, but I think there's been a psychological change in a lot of teams as well. I think it swings between defence and attack. Rugby, all sports do. And for a period of time, defence was people very, very concentrated on defence organisation, shutting people down. I think it's been a swing towards teams breaking that down, which is resulting in far more higher scoring games. So I think now you have to be able to score to win a game. I think you have to occupy a sweet spot in which you've got a good record of scoring and you're able to defend well enough to allow yourself to win the game.
Without talking about specifics, obviously, and giving away trade secrets at Brive, has there been a change in the amount of time in a week that teams will devote to defence versus attack? Has that shifted?
It's not really, because you're talking about the psychological. It's psychology really about holding onto the ball, thinking, like in England, we talked about they think more about structures than allowing what's happening in front of you to play. So as a result of that, they'll go to the structure every time, so the game's a bit slower, more efficient, less dangerous for them. They expose themselves less. Various reasons for it. Now, coaching your team can be more about the messages you can give them to be free to play, as opposed to drills or attack or operating your attack system more. That's not always the best way to attack. Ironically, is not always that. It's more. It can be a lot about the messaging and how your player groups feel about the ability to attack at the right moment, kick the ball at the right moment, and defend behind that. And that decision making also depends on the team you put on the pitch. If your team's very skillful and you develop that ability to hold on to the ball, to make the right pass, powerful ball carriers, you'll be holding on to that ball and attacking for a lot longer than a team who can't pass as well, who haven't got powerful players. They're going to have to kick it and defend out the back. It depends on the ability of your player group as well. Those decisions there, but it's so multifactorial. It's why coaching is so bloody hard.
Yeah, I'm just thinking as you were talking, it sort of tallies with as these things, like you say, move in waves and trends and swings back and forth, the pendulum. But the fact that England, for example, have been playing with 3 open sides in the back row. Actually, when Ben Earl was moved to centre, there was 4 on the pitch all at the same time. And kind of, is that the speed of the game, the more ball in play time, therefore there's more breakdowns. So that's to secure your own ball, but slow down the opposition. It is just a little cat and mouse chess game, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the England success, where the opportunities they got when they managed to get the opposition 22 and they made line breaks, what happened before that? Were they from traditional loads of amazing attack structure and launch plays? Probably not. A lot of it probably came from turnovers, winning penalties, kicking into the 22, scoring, or turnovers and playing off the back of it. Or poor kicks, pressuring the opposition, creating poor kicks. That is such a big part of rugby. And because it's not always organised, it's not always structured, it's sometimes hard to see. But really, it's a huge part of the game.
Right, so that's Clermont against La Rochelle is a big game, as Joe mentioned. Another big game, 2 teams that are in the playoffs, and these are 2 of the teams that have, come up through. They've been lower down in previous seasons, and now they're starting to emerge. Bayonne host Lyon, both in playoff spots, and that's a pretty fascinating matchup as well.
Yeah, it is. I think Lyon are beginning to show the signs of they've got a good squad. The coaching has not managed to harness that squad. The ex-French coach Karim's gone there now. He's managed to get them into the sort of shape where they're creating a lot of chances, defending better, and they can beat teams. Bayonne, we've talked about before, lovely, amazing rugby team. They understand they're not able to physically match everybody, so they've gone for this way of playing, which is in their DNA anyway. I'm just playing incredible attacking rugby, taking risk, and then just trying to score more points than the opposition. It's a lovely team to watch. So those 2 teams could well both be in the playoffs. I think if I had to pick one of them, I'd say Bayonne, because it's at Bayonne.
It's at Bayonne.
Because it's at Bayonne. I think where at Lyon would be different. Bayonne pushed Stade close. Bayonne have been such a good team this year. I think they're going to take that 4th spot.
Yeah, and that means Castres in 6th and Pau in 7th are just waiting. Could either of those could leapfrog Lyon should they lose this weekend? It's getting really tight and interesting. And those are 2 of the clubs as well, Castres and Pau, who have the lower end of the budgets in the top 14.
Yeah, I mean, Castres, it's incredible. I do really love that club. Had a great time there for a couple of years. Their identity in the club's all about humility, working hard. So when you walk in through the doors, you've already inherited that kind of ethos. That's been people have maintained. They don't, when they get rid of a coach, they don't change everything. Certain things behind the scenes don't change, and that's one of them. And it gives the club an incredible strength. Other clubs haven't always had that, and having that already in the DNA of a club is a big thing, because if you've got to take a load of time to build that side of things up, you're not spending that time on other very important aspects of the game. So Castres, you got to love it. Little town, fighting to be in there.
And I'm just looking actually at what the Champions Cup fixtures are. Which of these teams are actually going to bother? Clermont are away to Northampton, and I mean, because it is a route to. Oh no, I don't know. They're not going to win it, so I don't know. Castres are home to Benetton, La Rochelle are home to Munster, Bordeaux obviously and Toulouse are going to take it seriously. But of those teams, would they take Toulon as well? Despite they're already in the top three, but they're proud in this competition and they're at home. But Castres, La Rochelle, Clermont. I'm imagining La Rochelle obviously always go big on this competition. Clermont and Castres, do they dial it in?
I think Claremont definitely. Cast, I'm not really sure of their injury situation, but I think they will be giving other players an opportunity. But they got a really good squad. If they haven't got too many injuries, then they've had some really wise recruitment over the last couple of years. So their squad's quite deep. They could put out a decent team still certainly for Benetton. They could deal with Benetton at home.
We will keep our eye on the top 14 this week and look forward to the Champions Cup next week.